Hey guys, John here. This video today is going to be a small update video and also a video mainly on how to care for coral. For you guys that don't know, I have a Aqua 1 Mini Reef 120 reef tank and it is what I have started my reef with. It is my first saltwater setup, and by all means I do not know everything about how to care for coral, but I will share with you my little knowledge, and hopefully it helps a couple of people out, and you guys will see it grow with me. So what I want to say with coral, basically you want to know a lot about the coral before purchasing it. Although corals can be extremely beautiful and look amazing in the tank, not all coral will be suited to you. If you do notice, in my tank I only have soft coral. Soft coral is probably the best beginner / starter coral. It's not ideal to start getting into like the hard coral. When I mean the hard coral, I mean like the physically hard, like you see like the structures like jutting out like horns and spikes and stuff like that. They're the much harder coral to keep. If I will actually just grab this. That coral, sorry about that, I was just checking. That coral, the hard coral is called Sps Coral. It's just a term you use for the harder types of coral, and you get LPS coral, which is the softer types, SPS coral, which are the harder types. It's more complicated than that, but I'll just give you a quick overview of that. So the corals I have in my tank are all soft corals. 3 of the coral I have are actually stony corals. So they have soft, stony bases, but soft extremities, like the tentacles and stuff coming out. So I have an elegant coral, if this focuses, beautiful elegant coral. I have a green tip torch coral. I have another torch coral. This is just a standard torch coral, I'm assuming. And I keep forgetting the name of this, but I can't actually think of the name of this coral. But it is also a very nice looking coral, and it actually has a baby at the bottom, if you can see there. And I also do have 3 zoanthid frags. I've got one there, and one there. They are on frag plugs. So they're in temporary places. I'll get a nice rock like this and place them in, and hopefully they'll cover that whole rock. For you guys that want to start getting into coral, I recommend you starting off with soft corals. Soft corals are the easiest to care for, by far the easiest to care for when you're looking at care and water quality. For someone like me that doesn't have the best equipment, I mean I have good equipment, but the equipment is far more greater, well, needs to be far more greater to harbour the SPS coral, just due to they're very temperamental with water quality. Not to say that my water is dirty, but it's I don't think it's suited for SPS coral, without any dosing and stuff. I'll go into dosing a little later, but I'll also say that you want to choose a coral that isn't going to be too big for your tank. You want to choose, I think the best way to choose is small pieces of coral, and get a lot of those instead of just getting like one big coral piece and like chucking it in the middle, because it also takes away if you just have one piece of coral. If you can see now, I've just started off with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 7 pieces of coral. If I counted that correctly, probably didn't. And it looks very nice at the moment, but also if you guys can see, I've got tons of platforms. I've got wedges, holes, crevices to put tons more coral in these grooves. You don't need to buy the coral all at once. You can slowly add, because obviously coral is quite expensive for you guys that don't know, and it does take up quite a bit of money to, fully have a fully stocked tank. So if you're looking at going out one day and just stocking everything, that's going to be a fair chunk pulled out of your money. Some corals like high flow, some corals like low flow, so you have to get a coral which is suited to your aquarium. I've got a 120 litre mini reef, so you have to get coral that can withstand slightly higher flow, as I have a Seawater power head, a nano power head, and in such a small aquarium it will be forcing the water around quite a lot. But if you can see, I've actually got a sock on that just to protect against the anemone that I will be getting, so it won't get sucked in, because if you guys that don't know, I had an anemone and it got sucked into the power head and got chewed up, which was quite a shame, because it was a nice green bubble tip anemone that the clownfish actually begun to host, and that's why it started to move, because I think they were over hosting it. And they began to hassle it. I'll just give you a quick rundown of the fish. So I've got two photon clownfish, one Melanaris wrasse and one flame angel. They're doing fine in the tank. You've also got to take into consideration what the coral eats. Corals sometimes like to eat different types of things, although some coral can be photosynthetic, meaning they grow off the lights. Most corals do like to eat, and they won't grow a hell of a lot if you don't feed them. Stuff like this mushroom, I do not feed because it just picks up any food particles in the water, either at night time or just during the day. I don't actually spot feed that. So stuff like the Giardini loves to eat, all the little polyps. I don't tend to target feed the torch corals, but I give them a little, but they're not a really big eater, I don't believe. But the polyps, the zoanthids, are definitely eaters. You can actually see them eating, and they look very pretty. They look really cool eating. I'll get into the lighting a bit. This Aqua One mini reef comes with a, if you can see, it's a Merry Glow. It's a 35 watt, I believe. Merry Glow light. Comes with the white light and the blue light, if you can see. So if I turn the white light off, you can see the blue light, and then you can see the fluorescent glowing of some of the coral, especially the green tip. So that's what that looks like. And that coral, these coral don't need intense lighting. That's one good thing about these soft coral. But they are, I believe, photosynthetic, so they do grow off the light. So you do not have to specifically feed these coral, but it does help in benefit in the growth of the coral. Also with dosing, with these stony coral like the elegance coral and the torch corals, they actually have a stony base at the bottom, if you can see. So you can see over there, that's where one of the heads actually died and left like a big hole in the coral. That's normal, sometimes happens, sometimes doesn't. I don't think you can see too well on that torch coral, but if I go over there, you can see, doesn't look too good zoom. See that that part in the back? That's where a piece had died. But they've got hard bases, is what I'm trying to say. And what that is that is a skeleton. It is calcium carbonate, I believe is what it is, and it takes calcium out of the water to form that. So you want to be dosing your tank with calcium and carbonate, because that's what develops the strong growth of coral, the skeleton of the coral. This, I believe, actually does have a hard stony base at the bottom. You can't see it because it's covered by the actual mushroom, but this also does require calcium and carbonate. I don't know a hell of a lot about keeping these yet, but I am dosing calcium and a bit of carbonate when I can get that, but I haven't started dosing carbonate yet. Stuff like the zoanthids, they're perfectly fine. They don't really need any of that, but the better the water quality, the better they will grow. So I'll just get into the dosing. You can see just on my computer. The dosing system, I don't really have a dosing system. What I use, and this is what you should have, maybe not these two, but these definitely for a reef, coral reef. This is just Seacom's Reef Complete, raises calcium. You want levels of calcium to be at a, I don't know the specific, what you want them, but you want a specific, I mean like gravity or like parts per million or of calcium in the water, otherwise the corals won't be able to draw that out, or they'll draw it all out and will have none left too. And you also just want to have reef dip. Now I love this stuff because coral does die. It's not something you can stop. It's and it's fairly easy to treat. It can happen just out of the blue. If a fish bites a bit of coral, it could actually kill that entire coral if your water quality is not the best. But it very rarely happens, but this is good. If I showed you that elegance coral, that bit that was gone, that actually, my Melanaris wrasse actually bit that tip of the coral and it died. The whole head died of that coral, so I actually had to cut that off with some scissors, and I dipped the coral in the reef dip. These are some other supplements I do have that I do not use. A Reef Foundation magnesium supplement and then Coralline Grow. I recommend maybe using the magnesium supplement. I'm not too sure about how much you need in your tank, but carbonate supplement, you definitely need that to raise the alkalinity in your tank. Also, sea salt. Sea salt is another not controversial issue, but an issue that many reefers should take into consideration, or if you're starting a reef. If you have a saltwater tank, you've either got two options. You can collect the salt water yourself from the ocean, or a pet shop, but that's very expensive. Or you can mix your own, which is also very expensive. But it also is good because you can actually measure and level the water at home to your specific salinity, and you can add stuff to that at your needs. But I find no need to do that. I collect natural seawater from the ocean near me. But also this is very good to have if you can't do that. I've got a 7 kilogram bucket of this Red Sea Coral Pro salt that mixes extremely well, and it gives you all of the trace elements. And if you can see that, it gives you all of that for that, which is actually really good. Which is makes a good salt for starting with coral. Back to the coral and feeding, I will show you just how I feed my coral. If you can see here, there is a mixture of brine shrimp and mysis shrimp in the water. It's a little hard to do without spilling, but if you guys can see that, actually it might be better for me, actually this might work. There you go, perfect. I'll just let it settle, and then I'll suck it up with this pipette I have. So I got a bit in there, and now I'll just show you how I feed the coral. Stuff like the elegance coral can take actually like whole pieces of mysis shrimp. So if you can see that, I'll just squirt that into that, and that all of that will go into that elegance coral. I'm not actually going to show you anything else being fed, because that's the only thing I haven't fed today, but it's the basic principle of, see the pipette, I'll show you. I'll suck water in, pretend it's like food, but I've already fed these like a minute ago, and just squirt it on them. Do you know what I mean? And you can squirt that on like the polyps and see how it closes and stuff like that. There's probably actually food particles still left in that, and that's just putting that on the coral, and that helps obviously the coral grow. And you can see the water droplets falling down, which is probably one of the biggest pains with having a saltwater fish tank, is these water droplets, sorry, but they go away pretty quick when you scrub it. So that's not too much of like a background information of how to care for coral, but it's a little insight of if you want to start off with coral. And if you guys have any questions, you can message me on my Facebook. My link should be in the description, or you can just look up on my dashboard of my YouTube channel. My Facebook is there. My email is also on my YouTube and Facebook. If you ever did want to message me or email me and ask a question, I'm more than willing to help. I'll be uploading some more pictures, more videos of the dragons soon. For you guys that don't know, I breed bearded dragons, and also you'll be seeing how to care videos for the clownfish, and that will be pretty interesting, and tell you what you need for that. But see, that's the problem that happens when you feed the coral. The animals get a little feisty going into them. But that's all. Thank you for all the supporters and subscribers I have. It's been great, and I hope to see you. I hope to see you. I hope to be making more videos in the near future. See ya.